right, everybody, welcome back to a Champions League edition of the Top Corner podcast. A lot to go over, a lot of interesting matchups, but ultimately there's probably a big four in terms of the high-profile matchups for the week. So we'll dive straight into those. We really do want to stay away from news and big updates. These are basically just very much like express episodes, although I will say one small thing that I read. It's still very much a rumor, but there's enough going around to make it work. I just want to surprise you with it. Liverpool is interested in Rodrigo in the January transfer window if Mohamed Salah does leave for Saudi Arabia, which I don't think he'll leave halfway through a season, but they at least have kind of made it well known that they have their eye on him.
Rodrigo from Madrid?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if Madrid will let him go.
I don't know either, especially in January.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying for now. I don't see Salah leaving in January. I don't see a crazy move for Madrid in January. I mean, there's a reason that early Ancelotti basically said that the window was done for them. They're like, we're done. So that even furthers what you're saying of probably not in January. Yeah. I wouldn't be looking for any changes.
Won't be ideal.
No, not at all. All right, so let's go ahead and kick off with the boring match.
Which one?
Which I do think we'll get used to saying this. AC Milan versus Newcastle.
Oh, mamma mia.
Oh, mamma mia. A couple of big observations. First off, Nick Pope, great game. A lot of great saves.
Amazing goalkeeper. I think he should be the number one goalkeeper for England.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really absolutely.
He's great.
Newcastle did not get much opportunity on net. I actually have an interesting stat here.
What do you expect?
Well, the thing is that they always play that way, even against teams in the Premier League that are below them in terms of quality. They just don't seem to be interested in scoring that many goals. And in the stat that I have here, even really getting much opportunity on net, they had 6 shots, 1 on target, versus Milan's 25 shots, 9 on target. That shows how, in between those 9 shots on target, Nick Pope had at least 4 or 5 very high quality saves. Milan just couldn't shoot straight, and Newcastle never really drew their revolver for the shootout. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I kind of watched the game. It was a little boring, but Newcastle plays. I think they didn't want it to finish the game with a lot of goals, so they played a highly defensive game, which was kind of weird. And I blame AC Milan too for the fact that they couldn't shoot straight and they couldn't score, because they had one counter attack, which is kind of weird, but they had so many opportunities, but they just couldn't capitalize on it, which is kind of, I don't understand.
Giroud's not been in great form for the past couple of games throughout competitions, but it's interesting because he did have a good start to the Serie A season.
Yes.
He just had, I think, maybe the Milan derby, he didn't have a very good game, and then here he didn't have a very good game, which 2 games in a row, it does constitute form, but at the end of the day, it is just 2 games. He is a veteran. That's where you need him, and that's where he always proved himself very useful when he plays for France, when he played for Chelsea and Arsenal. You might be down 1-0 or have a 0-0 scrappy game, and in the 90th minute, he has some crazy back heel flick ridiculousness. You know what I mean? It's like you always wait for him to do that kind of a thing. And so it's not always fair when he doesn't do that and you blame him for not doing it. It's like, no, that's an exceptional thing that you're asking him to do, despite him regularly being able to do that, it seems, right?
That's crazy because 25 shots, though. Yeah. 25 shots and you miss every single shot?
Yeah.
No. That's not acceptable. If I was the coach, they're all doing suicides.
Yeah. Well, and it's so early in the season for Newcastle to feel this lethargic, very tired. They're very slow. You know, they feel exhausted already, and they've only really played in 2 competitions. They had an awful beginning set of fixtures for the Premier League. I'm not saying they didn't. So you can't really put their current record against them that much. But they're not playing very well either, and that's why I'm saying, early prediction. And again, 1 match out of 6, ridiculous to do that. But I would say that Milan are more likely to get out of the group than Newcastle based on that performance, even though neither side was very convincing.
Yeah.
The 25 shots and 9 on target's more likely to get you out of the group stage than 6-1, right?
Normally, I mean, I don't even expect Newcastle to make it, to be honest. Not because they can make it, but because this is Champions League. Usually in Champions League, things are a little different, Yeah. This is the big games. This is the big leagues. You got to show up every single time you play. and there's no messing around. And I saw the game. There's a lot of improvement just on their side, and they gotta take chances, opportunities, and drive the attack.
Yeah.
You can't just sit in your defense, thinking you're gonna win the game. You can't. You gotta try,
especially in the group that you're in. You're in the worst group that you could possibly be in.
Yeah,
you're taking the defensive route. No, this is but also you have to think as well, and it's kind of just occurred to me, I guess. Are Newcastle fans really that upset if they just, let's say they don't win a single game in the group stage?
They won't.
They're not going to care. Like this team, it feels like they are just as happy to be there as the fans are.
Happy to be there and enjoy the ride,
And the frustrating thing for that is that there are players within that Newcastle side that are better than Newcastle currently. Sandro Tonali, he's not interested in leaving the group stage.
Yeah.
Why did he go to Newcastle? Because it wasn't just the contract, because the contract, it's a good contract, but there are better contracts out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He went there to get, and he was in the starting 11 of Milan. Like, what was the incentive to go there? It's that squad is not performing the way that they were expected to when they brought these new players in. They wouldn't be there otherwise. Right?
I would say Leo, he tried a lot though. He tried a lot.
He's frustrating to watch though.
Yeah, but he's not accurate.
What about that ridiculous back heel flick where he falls on his face? Do you remember that?
Why would you?
That was incredible.
I mean, yeah, but it's all for the show.
That's what I'm saying. It was a painting of disaster. It was not a good thing to see. It was like I had to rewind it at least 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to see someone bobble a shot, to even completely whiff a shot like Havertz did in the Premier League, I think 2 weeks ago. But to maneuver yourself into that space, like he did, he made 2 or 3 dribbles past 2 defenders to cut inside, and then he takes one extra touch, and you're like, what do you do? Like, you're missing your window.
Yeah.
You take one more, the window's closed, and you're like, oh, not only is he now attempting a back heel, that felt like what he was originally trying to do. It's like, you fucker. No, like, you got, like, it looked like everything but falling on his face was purposeful. And it's like, take the easy shot. You did all the hard work to get in the box, in that space. You had an easier shot than you did the maneuvering to get in, and you picked the more difficult shot to take.
I hate when players do this. When you get the opportunity, you dribble past everyone, and at the end, you just do extra.
Yeah. When you already did the extra.
Yeah.
You did the impressive part already.
It's crazy. That's why I always hated Neymar for that. Yeah. Because he was a lot of show, but when it's the moment and the timing was always a disaster. Yep. So, well, let's get to the Bayern Munich, Man United. Okay. That was a good game.
Yeah, let's completely walk past the rest of Milan. There were things to talk about, but ultimately,
Go ahead.
No. That's the thing. Like that, I believe that of the 4 matchups that we'll be talking about, that's the one to go ahead and it was more important than Napoli and Braga, which is currently on right now.
Yes.
But of the 4 matches, there wasn't that much to report.
No.
They
just got to make sure they got to fix the attack. Both Milan and Newcastle, you want to take chances. You want to take shot. You not just taking shot, you have to make it. One thing I was wondering, what if Newcastle at the end just, score 1 goal and the game ends up 1-0.
They weren't interested.
Yeah,
they just weren't. It was like one team was the outlaw gang that couldn't shoot straight, and the other gang left all of their revolvers at home. You know what I mean? Yeah. They talked a big game at the saloon, and it was time to draw, and they're like, "Oh."
I'm really interested to see what they would do against Dortmund or PSG because
Dortmund didn't look great either.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get to Bayern and United first.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah. Let's get to the real game, I guess. No, Bayern Munich United, what did you think about it again?
It's one of those games that the scoreline does not reflect the quality of play or the closeness of the game.
I think you had to watch the game to really understand because, United actually played good for one.
I would say they played okay.
In the last
they played better than they're used to. Yes.
They played better.
Well, they played much better than they have been lately.
The first 15 to 20 minutes, they were actually controlling the game.
Bayern was very slow to get up.
Yeah.
Once they got going, they got going. But
I think
Bayern
that one goal that Onana took in kind of was the catalyst for them to keep scoring, but
it took all of United's momentum away.
Yeah, because if they hadn't scored a goal, I think that game could have ended 3-3. Honestly, even probably United, I don't know, probably a draw, because I expected much from Bayern with all what they did, all the counter attacks and all the chances. They just, for me, Bayern got to fix his own defense, because you cannot take as much. I know you are a high attacking team. We don't really care about the defense. If we can score more than you can defend, but it's not going to fly against teams that are actually decent above, or two-way teams.
And Kim is still playing very good. This is the same thing that we saw in the Bayern and Bayer Leverkusen game, where it doesn't matter how well Kim plays. If Upamecano is so easily pulled out of position, he's not making major mistakes.
Yeah.
He's not bobbling the ball. He's not squandering tackles. He's just being pulled out of position and making it very difficult for two defenders or two midfielders of Kimmich and Goretzka, who are not great defenders, late to come back. And it's like there's no communication between a non-defensive midfield and one of your two center backs that seems very drawn to being a little too active in the play as it's coming to him, as opposed to sitting back and making the smarter decisions.
I would say on the left flank though, and you can see they had 43% attacking coming from the left side from United, and it's due to the good combination of Reguilon and Rashford. I thought that side played great in terms of attacking. Even Reguilon, I mean, I think he there was an action, I think it was a counter-attack or an attack leading by Sané that Reguilon chased down from the opposite flank. Yeah. So he went to the right and chased down Sané until he got the tackle. So this guy, he played very well. And
he worked very hard.
He worked very hard.
And even at Spurs, it's not that he was he was never a lazy player. He always worked hard. It's just that you could tell that there were he had some mistakes in him. He wasn't as consistent as he probably needed to be, but he played much better in this side. He has something to prove, and the rest of the squad's not playing that great at the moment either. Yeah. It's like United's playing better than they usually are.
Yes.
And Bayern is not playing as well as they're used to.
Yes.
And despite them being still, and it's so funny,
I say Bayern.
You listen to everybody talk about it, they're still one of the 3 top teams to win the Champions League in terms of predictions.
Yeah.
But everything that we say is it's amazing when you're still in the top 3 predictions, and all people are saying is that you're not playing as well as you can and should be. That's what we expect. That's what you expect from them.
You know what's weird? You can tell how least we expecting from United. Everybody was like, 4-3 isn't that bad. It's actually great. That's how low the standards have been set up for United. And if you take the game, right, I think there's a couple of things, from the man marking is really, really not it. Or whenever they're setting up a low block, I don't even know if it's a low block setup, but whenever they're defending in the final third, they just don't mark players. Mm-mm. Players are just McTominay walking around. On that 4th goal, he could have made a tackle to on Kimmich, or at least try to contain him, throw him off balance or whatever. And you can see the Gnabry, I think in the 21st minute or something like that, there was not that there wasn't no aggression on him. There was just a lot of things that they could have fixed.
Yeah.
Ericsson could have gotten to Gnabry when Gnabry, I think he was shooting. He could have. German marking are just so off, and whenever they're in defense of defending the final third, players are just marching around. Nobody's marking them. Nothing is happening.
The 2 people that you just mentioned in the midfield, though, and you are right. Look at who you're talking about, though. You're talking about Scott McTominay, who has been known for years to get lost mentally in very complex situations. It's on offense and defense. He seems to just kind of be drifting. At some point,
he just walks around when
he does.
The action is just happening near to him. Not even 2 feet, not even once, just a centimeter. Like, this guy, I don't understand.
Well, and then you're talking about Eriksen as well, who is naturally a 10.
Yeah.
When he played his best football, he was playing just underneath Harry Kane, distributing passes. And now we're critiquing his defense. And I'm not saying that we can't, because he's being chosen, he's selected to play in a midfield. Like, just because you were used to playing at a 10, but now you're playing at an 8, doesn't mean that we can't critique how well you play the 8. He's clearly not that pacey midfielder that's able to get back on defense, but he's also not
The coach,
he's not agile or interested enough really to build up offensive play either. They all seem to sort of be kind of drifting around, and
lousy,
it's even
lazy.
Yeah,
because you got to talk to them. McTominay, you can't be walking around when actions and when the game is not done.
Yeah,
and Onana had poor timing, poor technique. You know that the first shot his body should have been going towards the ball, right? I mean, he was already beaten before even the shot went close to him. He was already on the opposite angle, and
because Sane had already crossed over, so he cut inside so much that you try to follow him, but you're leaving that channel open.
Yeah, but
that's not the first time either. Because what was it? Which goal was it? Let me double check here. Just go a tiny bit out of order because it's not the first time
he does that. Yeah.
With that Gnabry goal.
Yeah, Gnabry goal. Yeah.
That was mostly Lindelof's fault. If you look at it, he pinches too close into Dalot. Yeah. Which it does take an unfortunate touch off of Dalot from Musiala, that kind of scramble. But ultimately, they had a certain camera angle right behind Onana.
Yeah.
And you're looking at Onana's in the right space.
Yeah.
He's covering the ball well. The issue is that Lindelof is directly in front of him.
Yes.
He could have been further over to the left, more centered where he and Martinez should have been, so that when the ball cuts back into Gnabry, I'm not saying that Gnabry won't make that shot, but he's now having to thread the ball through a smaller space with two defenders right there because Lindelof came in so much for Diallo. Diallo didn't need him to be there. So it basically just left a wide open hole.
Well,
I think Onana can't get there.
With good technique and good timing, Onana could have caught the ball. Yeah. Or at least, just if he had put his body into the ball. It was just lousy, lazy technique.
And Martinez is always late. Martinez is always late to the party. And it's so funny. In this game as well, I don't know why they have Martinez moving up into the midfield. Yeah. There were times where you're looking... And I know who the players are. I can tell them from afar. But if you didn't know them that well, you're like, who's this short little blonde-haired guy in the midfield all of a sudden? And you're like, oh, shit, no, he's tracking back. He's a defender. Why is he up in between where an 8 and a 10 should be? It makes no sense. And then you wonder why he's late to get back on a counter or a transition. It's like, well, you obviously told him to rush up. Otherwise, why would he do that? That's insanity. And why would he do it for games on end? You're obviously... giving him, that's a tactical maneuver that you're trying to pull success from. I don't know what you're trying to do, because we talked about Upamecano moving a little too much because he trusts his pace too much. Look, Martinez is moving like Upamecano, but he doesn't have the speed for that.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's drifting out into those wide spaces. You already have a disadvantage because of your size.
Yeah.
Thiago Silva doesn't rush up like that. He knows exactly where to place his body to make up for his lack of height, and he's made a career out of that. I don't know what Martinez is trying to do. He might think that he's 6'2",
but he's not.
No one, he wasn't looking at his teammates in the locker room going, oh, how tall? What are you, like 7'3"? What is this?
Upamecano is a whole wall, man. It's so difficult one-on-one with him. He just covers your whole space. It's like he's overwhelming.
Well, and then the issue is that, yes, he can cover all that space. How often does he cover that space well?
That's true.
And that is the issue. And really fast with that score line, because I saw some people trying to call it a shootout. Now it's not a shootout. Just because it's 4-3, just because the score line looks like... Because a shootout, you obviously know what that means. It's a goal here, blah, 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 blah. No. At all three of United's goals, two in particular, were rarities.
Yeah.
That won't happen again. Fernandez's set-piece goal was ridiculous. No one touched the ball. Casemiro gets a head in. That's rare. Yeah. And then Casemiro's other goal where he's on the ground. He's already fallen to the ground and Upamecano's just standing over him like a statue.
Casemiro was their best player on the pitch.
And the thing is, he didn't even play that great until those moments, but he got what he needed to. But it's a very modern United example of
I think
they're proud of him for still losing the game.
If they had Amrabat, is this Sofiane that's with them now?
Yeah.
So Casemiro can dedicate himself playing attacking.
You got to think that McTominay comes out. Yeah. And Amrabat comes in.
Yes, So you have a little bit weight on the defense covering that midfield. Yeah. They still have a huge midfield problem. That's the thing. And I feel like if Casemiro convert as probably playing where Fernandez is playing as an 8, and then just like attacking midfield,
and move Fernandez back up, where he can play a bit more creatively. Yeah, because he doesn't. He's stuck in this
I probably would put Fernandes and Haaland together and play Rashford. I don't know, PSG.
Garnacho, where was Garnacho?
Oh, Garnacho, yeah.
Where was he? And this, what was it, Pelistri? What was his name again?
Pelistri.
He's young and great. Where's Garnacho? Why is Garnacho not in that build up there?
Yeah.
I mean,
and I think
I don't know.
Musiala, hell of a player.
He's great. Yeah.
Hell of a player.
Think about this though. Really fast about that Garnacho. Garnacho would have been on Alphonso Davies' side.
Yeah.
And would have annoyed the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Because Davies had an interesting game where he was one of the hardest workers in the entire match, but he's so easy to get frustrated. You can see that he's trying to do certain things, but also he's playing a little too quick.
Yeah.
For what the rest of the team is supposed to do.
Yeah.
No one else is that fast. No one else is that forward moving. There were a couple of times where he whipped around the person that was marking him and is looking for a pass, and Kimmich and Goretzka are back there.
Yeah.
And you're like,
he's too fast.
He is too fast.
I wonder
then they need to move that midfield up a little bit more
Yeah.
for him to do that. I don't know. He didn't have any options once he had the ball, so he's running around going, where am I putting this thing now?
I wonder if he can resume back playing as playing as a left wing now, since there's not. But that would be a little difficult because now you have two players can help with somewhere. So I don't know, man.
But Musiala played fantastic.
Musiala he's great. So he's the good.
They can't take the ball off of him.
No,
like
it's
you can
amazing.
try.
Even Sané had a lot of moment where physical contact he was giving a lot of United players the run for their money.
He's much more physical now than he was in Manchester City, and he still made some mistakes. He and Gnabry both played a little sloppy at times. They squandered a couple of chances, but he is playing a bit more abruptly, more aggressively. He's not afraid to check people on their shoulders and stuff.
It's crazy that when I looked at the because at one point I like Bayern Munich team. It's crazy now that when I look at the team, man, I don't see Müller. I don't see people I'm used to.
Yeah,
it's weird.
And these are the guys that you're gonna see for the next 5 or 6 years
until I get used to seeing them.
And if you see Musiala at Bayern Munich for the next 6 years, as a Munich fan, you should be very happy to see that.
Yeah,
they do have some good things in there. They need to work on their midfield though.
Definitely.
And it's not that they don't. It's not that they can't.
Yeah.
Goretzka and Kimmich are both proven to be very good players. Obviously the style of play that they're working is not like those two guys holding down the midfield's not working, and you have someone that's as fast-paced as Musiala up front and someone on the wing like Davies. Like, there seems to be an issue between how quickly they're playing. I think that Kimmich and Goretzka like a slower style.
Yeah.
And everyone around them is trying to kind of pick up the pace a little bit because Bayern is known for being kind of the methodical, slow, like pick you apart, wear you down. They're not known, at least not for like a good while, of playing this very fast-paced, energetic, very physical. So it does seem like the squad itself is torn.
But I would say the Bayern of what COVID Bayern was different though.
Oh,
they were too fast.
Yeah. They were, yeah.
They were too fast. I still need all the doping tests for the COVID Bayern. They were too fast. They were too jacked. But let's talk about Arsenal, PSG. Doping, that was a slaughterhouse. But that just proved how good is Arsenal.
And it's funny, and it's like you don't even have to be an Arsenal fan to have enjoyed that game. You see the scoreline, you see 4-0, you're like, God, it's probably like at a certain point it can get kind of boring to watch. It was still so exciting watching how they would build up play.
Yeah, Arsenal has gotten back to somewhat of the cadence they had last year and the rhythm. And I think the formation the lineup that Michael Arteta put on for this game, I think this is best formation so far. Zinchenko on the left,
left,
and White on the right, and you had Odegaard, hell of a player everywhere. Man, he's a really good captain. I saw him motivating players. I saw him attacking. I saw him defending. That is amazing. And he's this a two-way player.
and you said that about kind of being everywhere.
Yeah.
You know who I think is deceptively it's not even that he's quick. He has such long strides, And Ben White covers so much space.
Yeah,
he covers so much space. And you look at how long his legs are. Like, he doesn't even look like he's running that fast. But he is always in that channel to move the ball up.
Yeah.
He's always back on defense.
No,
he's very rarely out of position.
Ben White understand timing and positioning.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what was that, Müller? Müller, same thing. Müller is not fast.
No.
But if you get on the level right, you likely get Müller there.
Yeah.
That's because he understands timing and positioning and also pace. I'm not faster than you, but I know I can get you if I can time.
And that is the thing. I don't think that Ben White is a pacey player.
Yeah.
But you watched him cover a lot of ground very quickly in ways that the Eindhoven defense could not cope with.
Yeah.
He wasn't ripping past defenders like a Sterling or an Nkutku or someone like that. But you watch him create distance because he's able to just kind of work around guys, and he picks the right spaces to run into.
Yeah.
But he is definitely quick enough. If he picks the right place, he's still getting past you. There's not much that you can do about it. He was very impressive. And then Declan Rice does all the dirty work. It's so funny. I feel like he should wear, instead of the uniform, like a maid's, like a butler outfit, because he just cleans up every little thing that happens.
Yeah.
And it was really funny watching Jesus play as well. It's so hard to get the ball off of him. We mentioned like Musiala. Like with Musiala, everyone has to like run in and like just bulldoze him and and he'll still find a way out. With Jesus, because he's so quick on the ball, they have to give him extra space.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is that he ends up getting like 2 or 3 extra touches all the time. You just watch him, you're just like, they're kind of just letting him go through. But at the end of the day, you've seen what happens if you do try to close in on him. He's still getting past you. It's like they're having to give him all this room because they know that he can do pretty much anything that he wants.
I love the fact that he can drag the defense from whichever side he wants. So, but I think one of the reasons PSV did that is also because they were trying to avoid casualties, or a lot of them.
Yeah.
So, but it didn't really work because there was a lot of extra spaces on left or right. I mean, Saka was amazing this game. And 1 assist, 1 goal. I love me Saka. So me some sec.
And then go ahead.
I think you can also tell like the combination on the left with Zinchenko who again what's on the left?
It was Trossard today because Martinelli wasn't there.
So it was really good. It was 36% on that attacking side. So you can tell how much that side provided.
You know what's funny though? You know who else was on that side?
Well,
and I guess we'll just go ahead and talk about it. Havertz was on that side,
or
at least he was on the team sheet.
Yeah,
he was. It was like, okay, he's your left midfielder. That's what it said on the team sheet. I'm gonna go ahead and say this really fast one more time. What does he do for the team? What does he actually do?
So I'm thinking this, right? There's 1 or 2 things. I'm thinking. Michael Arteta is trying to build his confidence up to play now. We want to see the Kai Havertz of 1 or 2 seasons back.
At this point, more like 3 or 4. His last season or 2 at Leverkusen.
Yeah, so I think that's the whole point of trying to make him play this game. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, right? Do I want to keep building his confidence up, or do I want to win games?
So, and I 100% agree. So he ends up drifting into space.
Yeah.
Above the play. He starts building up like a number 9, which it doesn't make any sense to me because what ends up happening is he rides the defensive line, but he never actually attempts to go over on a counter. So what that ends up doing is it leaves a giant hole in the midfield, which Zinchenko does by design come in to fill. So now you have a guy that's choosing to purposefully, in Havertz, eclipse himself with a defender. He always hides behind the defender so that you can't give him the ball.
Yeah.
So he's not going over for counters. He's not stepping back into like a number 10 space where he can find build-up. Well, it's not that he's not finding them. He's choosing to take himself out of the play. And then when he finally does get the ball...
of the ball.
Well, when he does get the ball finally, he's not choosing a pass for the betterment of the play or the build-up. He's always looking for the first person to give it back to. So now all of a sudden, you have someone waiting on the defensive line that's not doing anything. You have a giant hole in the left of your midfield, which wasn't that big of a deal against a team like PSV. No offense to that. But at the end of the day, a stronger team is going to be able to manipulate that space and pull Zinchenko out of position. It's been done this season.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I just don't understand what he's actually trying to do. Arsenal now play more like Leverkusen did when Havertz was there than Chelsea ever did. So it's one thing to go from one team to another into a system that doesn't accommodate for you. I do understand that. This Arsenal team was playing the way that fast, that energetic, that it's not that we're expecting to concede goals by being this aggressive, but like we're more concerned with wearing you down with constant pressure from offense.
The whole game though. So what would you think? I would think how they played: Saliba, my guys, Zinchenko, White, Odegaard, Rice, Trossard, Jesus, Saka. I will replace Havertz and probably put in who can we even put over there?
Fabio Vieira's played well there.
Yeah,
for the last couple of weeks. Thomas Partey is still there.
Yeah, but probably put Partey over there, right? Thomas Partey, and I think this is the best team that he's gonna get. Yeah. In terms of playing every single weekend, I don't get the idea of taking your number 8 and having them drift to a 9 and do nothing. I do understand if you want one of your midfielders to ride a little bit higher, to be like a second number 10. Yeah. To then hold up play and either dictate where the ball is going to go, or create clever through balls for your front 3 and possibly your other number 10, like maybe Odegaard's comes in as well, so that he can actually find an open channel and Kai Havertz can hold up play and figure out what to do with it, but he's not going to do that. Yeah. So what you then have, like I said, you have a player playing at 2 positions away from where he should be. That is true.
And it just doesn't make any sense to me, and he's not giving anything to the build-up. Yeah. And he's not doing anything on defense either. He didn't leave anything out to dry because Zinchenko actually had a pretty good game in terms of covering 2 spaces at once, but against a better side,
team, it's gonna be
that's gonna be empty space and someone that's not. He's like Zinchenko's having to play 2 positions. Yeah, and Havertz is not playing 2 positions. And
it just doesn't. There's a lot more space to cover, and against a team that is. Teams like that play kind of the same game as Arsenal, it will be different. It will be a whole different game. And if you play Bayern, you can't give them that much space how Havertz did. You can have one defender trying to cover up and down at the same time. It's
and be worn these better sides are gonna see what Havertz has been doing or has not been doing.
They're gonna exploit it.
Like everyone's watching that because everyone knows that this is they are one of the better sides in Europe at the moment. They might not be in the top 3. Expecting to win the Champions League, but I mean, everyone's watching the side. Yeah. And so they see if Havertz is in, you're kind of playing with 10 men.
Wow. Well, PSG Dortmund. That was an interesting game, and I thought Dortmund would be the test for PSG. Yeah. Especially with their new team, I guess, kind of fairly new. Mbappe, Colomani, Dembele. Man, Vitinha and Ugarte, they play very well together. Yeah. That's a good mix, a good combination. But Vitinha is a hell of a player, I'm telling you. On that midfield, he was everywhere. Yeah. He was defending too. And he had an assist.
And last week when we talked about him, he did have a bad game. Yeah. He immediately came back this week and had a very good game.
He fixed that. He
did.
So I think the coach is doing his job.
Because it was Nice that they played against. Yeah. And in that loss, and he was all over the place. Whereas he was exactly where he needed to be. Yeah. All game, he played very well.
Yeah. And in terms of even passing, his passes were fairly more accurate than last game. And he was playing very well. Hakimi had a great game.
He's fantastic.
That goal, oh my goodness!
Off the outside of the foot.
That wasn't a defender's goal.
No.
That was a pure striker kind of goal. That was amazing.
And Mbappe was very energetic. He worked hard. He missed a lot of chances late though. Yeah, a lot, and he should not miss those, and he cannot miss those against other sides.
That is true. Mbappe is always gonna be Mbappe. There's way,
but at least he's happy.
Yeah, well, as long as he's happy, he's good. Happy. There's one thing about Mbappe at this point of his career. He's gotten to that level where it's gonna be difficult for him not to show up on every single game, unless the team is just totally trash. He's gotten to that level. Even you can put people like Haaland in there, but For me, I still feel a little defensive on Haaland, because I can tell that if the team as a whole, well, if there's not like a good link-up game, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But Mbappe has gone to that level.
And I personally still think that you might disagree with that. I do think that Haaland is a better player overall than Mbappe.
I do disagree.
As a striker, like I'm talking about in the position that they both played usually. Recently, Mbappe's gone back to being a winger, and he has shown more versatility than Haaland since moving that.
But he's always been versatile.
But no, I'm not saying that he hasn't. What I'm saying is that he's in a position now where he can again play more versatile. But if we're talking about the times that Mbappe spent as a number 9, I do think that Haaland performed better. I think the numbers do reflect that. But also, the City squad is just a better squad overall. Yeah. So if Haaland does not have a great game, he did last Premier League week, where he missed like 8 chances but still bagged a goal because people just kept giving him service. Mbappe doesn't have that luxury of that Manchester City squad, so he's having to play more versatile, and also accepting the fact that yes, Vitinha had a great game. Can he always do that?
Yeah. You know what?
Like it's just the depth that PSG is not as much as there as I think PSG want you to think, and I think that can impact.
You know what?
Their success overall.
Crazy though. If he ends up going to Madrid, I kind of like the fact that Vinicius Junior has proven himself to the point where I think the position, that left wing will be for him.
Yeah.
Because I don't see him playing because he misses a lot of chances. I'm talking about being efficient on the goalpost. It's not there. Yeah. And I feel like if Mbappe goes there, Mbappe will be a 9, which there's no problem. But I kind of like Mbappe on the left.
I do too. I think that
because he has that ability to pass. The one thing I always thought Rashford at this stage of his life will be as his game would have been as refined as Mbappe.
Yeah,
right?
He was supposed to
because he passes when it's time to pass, and when it's not time to pass, he takes shots.
Yeah,
and that's my problem with Rashford. Is you do 2 extra touches when when Haaland or any player is open and it's clearly open. He doesn't look up, try to scan around. So that's always been my problem.
He either takes too many touches or he doesn't look for an available pass and takes the ball for himself when it doesn't make sense for him.
Dortmund, I don't know if they played well or not played well, but I would say they played average, right? In terms of they had a good, somewhat defensive game and somewhat attacking game.
They just kept giving their ball away in their defensive third, especially in the first half. Yeah, way too much, and there were certain times where they just could not get any build up whatsoever. And you had guys like Vitinha, again, good game. You made him look like an absolute superstar and a great game, like I said. But if you're already playing well and the other team is having trouble building the ball up, you're gonna look even better. And I do think that was in part the situation.
That's true.
And they had a good spark in the 70s minutes, around like 70, like 71, like 76 or so, where like they were picking back up again, and PSG's defense did look shaky. Marquinhos got pulled out.
Yeah.
He got pulled out and pinched in toward Skriniar for and Ugarte was still a little too far behind on a pretty good chance. They did look a little bit vulnerable as the game went on, especially with Mbappe. You could tell the momentum was shifting because PSG's defense was looking a little bit shaky, and then Mbappe was getting a lot of opportunities but missing them. And you're like, okay, if this is where you're going to come back, this is where it is. Their attack is faltering and their defense is faltering.
Yeah.
You can probably get away with a draw if you work your ass off for the next 15 minutes. I don't see you getting a win out of it, but it was a very short, maybe like 8-minute burst of energy from Dortmund, and then they kind of settled into the fact that they lost the game.
That is true. It's very difficult, but I want to say they in their group it's going to be difficult for them not to. I think they will get to. And I don't want to say this, but I feel like there's not a real. But at the end of the day, this the truth of yesterday is not the truth of today. But I think that there's not a real challenger for PSG in that group.
No, it's gonna really. I think the 2 matchups between Milan and Dortmund are gonna be really interesting. Though, because they are definitely fighting for second. And of those 2, I do think Milan. They have a better attacking line.
Yeah.
and all that they need to do is get them playing a little bit better. Who are the big attacking stars for Dortmund? Who is it really?
Yeah.
Whereas if Leao is going to play great, he's going to play great. If Giroud is going to play, if he's going to find form again, which he has made a career out of making those big plays, and then just get Pulisic back on
track.
Yeah, it's easier for them to get more goals in those two matchups from that front line than Dortmund.
Plus, I think Dortmund is really, they're still building up. I feel like the team is not there yet, but I can see them in the next year coming up with playing great. Dortmund's always been one of those teams in the Champions League that at least they will try to knock off some teams out and just be that underdog, I guess.
They're always expected to get out of the group stage.
Yeah, but this one might be different though.
They're not expected to go very far. I feel like getting to the round of 16 and maybe the quarters is like that's a good showing for Dortmund. And like that's not a bad thing. Like there are always teams that are.
You know what? I'm actually interested to see Newcastle Dortmund because Dortmund is kind of boring too. So I want to see how two boring teams together get it done.
That'll be your game to watch for that week.
That'll be
I'll hand that one off to you.
I'll be like doing all the statistics analysis. Like, what the hell are you doing?
I'll watch the highlight package and go, whew, I dodged a bullet on that one. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, all these matchups were really good. The first week in the Champions League, so we still have a lot of surprises.
Tons more.
A lot of good games coming our ways.
Let's just look at next week's top matchups, and then we'll get the hell out of here. October 3rd, obviously Napoli and Real Madrid's a big one. Arsenal and Lens, depending on how you want to say
Lens.
Lens. I know, but as an American, just because if I say Lens, no other American really is going to. They're like, when did you use yawn? What was that?
Oh, the French.
It's the French. And then I think that what could be a sleeper matchup would be Inter Milan and Benfica.
Yeah,
that could end up being a bit of a mad scramble kind of a game. Nothing to really lose for Benfica.
You know what? I'm actually expecting. Oh man, I want to watch Porto Barcelona just because of the history. To be honest.
Yeah.
But
and that's on that's the Wednesday matchup. That's the fourth matchup. On Wednesday, I'd still say the bigger matchup would be Leipzig and Manchester City.
Leipzig is pretty surprising. They won, right? Did they?
Who?
Leipzig.
Yeah, they won 3-1.
Yeah. So I mean, the group is also weak.
And actually, City won 3-1 as well. I think they had identical scores.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And then PSG Newcastle and Dortmund Milan, which Dortmund Milan, like I said, like those are probably the most important games to decide who's getting out of second.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Newcastle's going to hang around very long. I don't think that they'll go 0-6 though. I don't think that they will. They'll get one. I can see them taking one off of Milan in the rematch. I could see that.
Well, on the rematch though, it's gonna be a little bit different, but because a lot of players, a lot of teams will settle in and try to figure out what worked best for them.
By then,
but I like for sure, PSG is getting out. Barcelona is getting out.
Yeah, I fear that by the time comes that Newcastle could take points off of Milan, they might have figured out their front situation.
Yeah. And Bayern Munich by that time I have been settling in. They have in the whole season, because even Bayern Munich usually start really slow in the Champions League. So you don't be surprised in the next 3-4 games they're just slaughtering these teams. But there's an interesting Champions League because I feel like. You know what's crazy? I feel like there's not a superstar in any of the teams.
Yeah,
it feels so weird actually because and it's the first time in how many years, 20 years that you don't have Cristiano Ronaldo and Marcelo. But I just feel like the teams that City is obviously there, but I'm talking in terms of players. Like when you used to watch the Champions League, you have like Marcelo, you have Alves, you have all these great players.
Yeah.
So I for now I think
they've got to get built up again.
Yeah.
It's like
we need to create the next generation of
stars.
Yeah.
It's like I mean it's a lot like wrestling in that way. Where like once you're big, so once Stone Cold Steve Austin leaves, you hope that you've started building up the other one, so that it's not like you don't have like 10 years of your company, your wrestling promotion where you've got no stars.
Yeah.
You're hoping that there's already one on the rise.
The generation is still, probably by next 2 years we might have like teams that have this crazy superstar. But
yeah, well, that's in the next 5 years, like that might be Valverde.
Yeah.
Vinny Jr. is already looking like that's going to be one of the bigger players to come up.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, they're there. They're under the surface. Who knows? In 5 years, I might look back on my critique of Vitinha during the PSG Nice game.
And you think he might be Xavi or
who knows? Yeah, it's like I could be completely, and I'm not even saying that I'm wrong. All I said was that he had that bad game, and I told you exactly what he did in that bad game, and it wasn't a good game. Yeah. But you watch, he's the next fucking superstar or whatever. All right, well that's it for today. That was Champions League
catch us on the weekend.
1.
Subscribe and everything. Yes,
we will be back with an episode on uploaded on Tuesday morning, and we'll have another Champions League edition Friday morning on October the 6th.
Yeah, definitely.
Goodbye.
Bye.